You mentioned EDR. And you talk about EDR, and in the same kind of sentence, you talk about mobile devices and not having any sort of mobile security deployed in most of these companies. So EDR is this like kind of, default, like you should get your EDR in place first. Do you think that's the right play? Because, looking at these tools, and especially when it comes into like a SASE definition, and I'll start using some acronyms, but let's just say, secure web gateways or remote browser inspection, something that's actually doing, inline traffic inspection and URL filtering for devices, so both a desktop and a mobile device, and being a little bit more in the chain, or as like more of like an offensive measure as opposed to an EDR that's really almost a defensive measure. Is there more value? I mean, is it just you need the EDR because you have to have the EDR and that's just a foundation for everything else that you need? Or do a lot of these controls and sophistication really come from this like next step of tooling of saying, okay, you're going to be better served having something that can actually say, this is a bad URL, we're not going to let you get there?
So I think it goes back to what we were just talking about, where you have to protect your users, your devices, your network, and your applications and data. I'm going to put some assumptions in place, assuming that your users are not going to do anything bad to harm you, because that's a whole other level of inspection on what's being done.
No, I mean, so you take away the intentional acts by some rogue actor inside your company.
Yes. So if we're just following on external actors that are really targeting you as a business, then EDR, so let's start at the users. So considering all of their authentication is being done now on Office 365 in the cloud, if that's compromised, then they get access to everything else. So you have to protect the authentication with some kind of multi-factor, and that'll at least do some really good for that business. The next thing is the users are like in that business is going to be connected to the internet, and they're going to be connected to the internet through devices. Their data will be somewhere either on the internal network, on the external, or both, today's standards. So as users are going to the internet, they're not just going to go to Office 365 or to Salesforce or to whatever the applications are. They're going to go to Facebook. They're going to go to do Google searches and everything else that they are going to do as a part of just being a human that has access to the internet. So you have to put the right controls in place on the network to protect and limit the malicious things that they're potentially able to expose themselves to prevent malicious things from coming down to the network. But even then, things are still going to slip through the cracks. So you have to have something on the endpoints, protecting the endpoints and making sure that those endpoints are looking at the payloads and the downloads and the applications or exploit attempts that are taking place on those endpoints, and that's where the EDR comes in. So it's really kind of those things combined that give some very rudimentary controls for any business to really start to secure that business.